Hey, podcast listeners, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Nick.
And we host the Facing Off podcast, and we are inviting you to give our podcast a listen.
On Facing Off, Gabe and I take two movies we find to be similar, and we compare, contrast, and rate them in our own unique way. We pair movies across all genres. As long as there's a common thread between the two movies, we'll face them off. We also give these movies awards at the end of the episode. Sometimes we even rank our favorite movies based on some specific criteria.
So, after finishing this podcast, please go and listen to Facing Off, which can be found on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts simply by searching for Facing Off. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter by looking up Facing Off Pod.
Podcast is all very scientific. We don't have time to get into it right now.
I guess you'll just have to listen to find out.
I guess so.
Today we're looking at Nativity 2, Danger in the Manger, a 2012 British improvised comedy written and directed by Debbie Isitt. The film focuses on Donald Peterson, an easily scared junior school teacher who embarks on a wild and heartwarming adventure with his class and teaching assistant as they travel to Wales to perform in a Christmas singing competition. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Christmas and Chill podcast. I will be your host, Josh, and we've got three contestants this evening, three fantastic contestants joining us this evening on the Christmas and Chill podcast. We have Maddie. How are you?
Hi, my name's Maddie. I'm an alcoholic. If I was an animal, I'd be an anteater because they look tasty, and my favourite colour's blue. All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming along. Maddie, thank you. Amy, we've got Amy. How are you this evening, Amy?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. Tell us a little bit about yourself this evening.
I'm Amy. I am an occupational therapist, as everyone already knows.
What? Is Amy an occupational therapist? Whoa, didn't know that one.
It's never come up before. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amy. And finally, we have Luke joining us this evening. Luke, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, Joshua. I am a student working in Bachelor of Communications, and I work at a burger place.
Fantastic. And tonight they're all playing for a brand new Kia Rio, courtesy of Kia.
No,
I was hoping for a Toyota Corolla, but...
I
We're on the
wanted a
wrong
Mazda
show.
2, actually. I'm sorry.
Yes.
What about Suzuki
Tonight-
Swift?
Suzuki Swift.
That's the widest girl car I've ever heard.
I already have a car. I don't need one.
Yeah, but I'm saying a Suzuki Swift is very white girl from Duran.
It is a very basic bitch
It's
car.
the first thing that came to mind.
How are we, everyone?
Good.
Good.
That's good. That's good.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm happy to be
I
doing
said,
this.
how are you? I said,
Oh,
how
you said,
are
how
you?
are
I
you?
just-
Sorry,
Yes.
my apologies. No, I'm good. I'm looking forward to reviewing this movie. So this evening we watched Nativity 2, Danger in the Manger.
Woo!
It's the first time we've watched a sequel on this list that wasn't on the same day.
Same
So
day,
it's-
yes.
Yeah, it's the first spread out. I think it's the only spread out sequel we do on this list, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure, yes, it is.
Yeah, nice. Let's kick it off, guys, with the opening question we always ask. What did we think of the film?
Good film. Usually I prefer a sequel. Toy Story 2 is better in my opinion. A couple other movies I prefer the sequel. But I don't think this was my favourite compared to the first one.
Amy, what do you think? Do you like the film?
I like the film, and I think I almost agree with Maddie. I think the first one was better, to be honest. But I did like it, though. I thought it was still,
Yeah,
good.
same here.
I'm going to say the same thing as the other two. I thought it was good, but the first one was a lot better, in my opinion.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a lot better.
Well, no, I mean in the sense, I'm speaking a little... This is the I haven't talked about Nativity 1 in the podcast, but I quite enjoyed Nativity 1, but Nativity
This is a Nativity
2
podcast,
it
not
doesn't
a Nativity 1 podcast.
Yes. So for Nativity 2, I think tried to fill too big of a shoes is what the first one did. It's probably the best summarizing I could do.
Yeah. Look, I would agree with all three of you. I also share the same sentiment. I think that the first one was better than the second one. Before we get into, I guess, what we did like and what we didn't like, the most notable difference between this and the first one, I guess, was a bit of a cast change. So Martin Freeman is no longer with us, Mr. Maddens, and we now...
Yes, he passes away. No, I'm kidding.
But now we're joined by David Tennant. What do we think of the change from Martin Freeman to David Tennant? Who do we prefer?
I prefer Martin Freeman's story. Mr. Madden's story was better for me than Mr. Peterson. But I liked the twin aspect of Mr. Peterson and his twin brother, competing against each other.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Luke? Who do you prefer between the two, if you had to pick one?
I preferred Martin Freeman over David Tennant. I think David Tennant does a really good job, and he kind of carries the movie a bit. I think maybe it's because they've got the cast is very, very similar, and Mr. Poppy doesn't have, I don't know, he didn't hit the same notes as he did in the first one. Maybe that's just because we know the character and we know that it's going to be a bit of a rumpus. But yeah, Martin Freeman, I think, as Maddie said, the story, I think, for Martin Freeman was a lot better, purely because I think he gets redeemed at the end and everything kind of turns around. But this time around, the first thing I thought was, how are they going to do this? Because the first one was more about, them beating it at the school. Are they going to do it a second time? And is that going to still be interesting, was my question. But
Yeah, fair enough. What about you, Amy? Who do you prefer between the two?
I think I do prefer Mr. Madden's, but to answer your question about is it going to be the same, I don't think it was anything the same, because the background story was completely different. Like what Maddie said, it's it was the competition between the two twins and all that stuff. The whole background story was completely different. So I wouldn't say it was the fact that they were practicing for a show to sing at a show. Yes, that was kind of the same, but everything else I believe was different.
I liked that Gordon Shakespeare was still in the film.
Yeah, I did like that too.
A bit villainous, but he wasn't the main villain. He had that sort of turnaround as well, like he did in the first movie.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Poppy got mentioned then, and something that I kind of picked up when I was watching this film is that when you look at Nativity 1, Mr. Poppy wasn't the main character, he was a side character. He was the B character. In this movie, Mr. Poppy felt like the main character. There was a lot more focus on, I thought there was a lot more focus on Mr. Poppy, and potentially maybe that's why we enjoyed Martin Freeman's story a bit better, because the crux of the story revolved around David Tennant, but a lot of the action revolved around Mr. Poppy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's mainly because I think David Tennant, as much as he is the main character, he really didn't have enough emotional stakes with the kids. And because with Martin Freeman, we grow with him over the film. We see him upset because of Christmas. We see him angry with the kids. We see him interact with them. So it creates that connection that is very valuable. And I think David Tennant, it kind of got rushed into, you're just a replacement. But here, Mr. Poppy is going to give you all this.
I think that's the whole point, though, because he is a replacement. And it's about his development and getting to know the children, and about from the start he's all these kids are supposed to be doing this, they're not supposed to be doing all that. And it's shows the progression of him realizing that, hey, actually these kids do deserve to have fun, and they do deserve to get to this concert thing. And so then I feel by the end there is a connection.
But most of the story, though, is about them trekking to the contest. It's not really about them in class. And maybe that's where maybe it loses me a couple of like little moments, is the fact that, yeah.
I agree with Luke. It lost me along the way. I thought like the whole doing the rapids, them trekking, the flying donkey, like it was funny, but it got a bit too fantastical. I was like, oh, we've lost the realism here, like the realism in the first movie. But maybe I'm comparing it too much to the first movie. It felt more of a kids movie. This one felt like more of a kids movie, whereas the first one kind of had something for the adults.
That being said, I do think there is merit, though, in the fact that the whole point of the movie was that David Tennant was a very obvious replacement for Mr. Madden. So that whole shrine scene where Mr. Poppy has a shrine to Mr. Madden's in the classroom, like that's such a callback to the first one, saying you will never replace him. And then that kind of and I get it. The journey that they take is a little bit unusual. It's not.
But also,
orthodox.
I feel like Mr. Poppy, that's who he is. Like, he's a crazy person. So, like, at some points I did think it was a bit crazy and it was kind of stupid. But at the same time, I wouldn't put it past Mr. Poppy not to do that.
That's so true.
That is true.
Like, it doesn't feel justified at the end, though, for him being close with David Tennant. It only feels like, they've only just gotten to really know each other over the adventure that they had.
But that's the point, though. Because he's a new teacher.
But Mr. Poppy is supposed to be a teacher's aide, and that's the. I think that's the problem.
But he's not a teacher's aide. He's a
no, he's not. That's the point.
Well, wait, so is in the movie? Maybe I missed it. Is he actually the teacher?
He's the teacher's aide, but he's not qualified to be one.
He's not a real teacher's aide.
He's just the principal's nephew.
But I feel like because of the way that David Tennant was in the movie, it didn't really feel like, before he came there, it felt like basically Mr. Poppy became the teacher that filled the void. And then once, I don't know, it felt kind of awkward. It felt like an awkward fit to put David Tennant in, because they didn't allow enough time for him to be with the kids and with Mr. Poppy before the contest happened. It kind of felt a little rushed.
I think that's
reckon
intentional.
That's the point.
Yeah.
The whole journey is the learning, right? The development. On this journey, we all get to know each other. We become closer because of the journey.
The shit that goes down.
Yeah. Yeah. What do we think of... so there was a good use of, I guess, David Tennant and the actress who plays his wife here, and that they were both double cast in two roles. So David Tennant obviously also played his twin brother, and his wife played the superstar lady.
Was that her? I didn't even notice that.
Did she? Was that her?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was the whole point, that the husband and wife were both twin characters.
That makes
so their
sense.
opposites were the villains in the show.
Yeah, that makes sense, because when she becomes, like, on stage and the way she acts with evil David Tennant, it makes now that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. But what do we think of the idea of the whole double casting, like the twin casting? Do we think that was a nice touch? Do we enjoy it? Do we not like it? What do we think?
For David Tennant's character, like, he brings up the fact that he had a twin brother, and the fact that he had some beef between his twin brother and his dad is not supportive of him. It gave him a real reason to try and, towards the end, help the kids win when he finds out. Because, it gives it the little bit of warmth that the first one did. It's a very similar type of warmth, where it's not about love, but it is about the love between the family members, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Maddie? You were talking a bit about this when we were watching the film. What did you think of the brothers' arc?
I kind of predicted the end, where they would both have a part of their love heart each and put it at the end. And I did get a bit emotional when I watched that. I liked it. I liked that you're rooting for Mr. Peterson and not his brother, and then in the end they get together not get together, but in the end, but yeah.
Amy, what do you think about the twins and their story arc?
I think I like it because it's kind of a change in all the other Christmas stories we've had so far, like a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a definitely good point because we definitely haven't seen the actor kind of repeat before, so it was quite a nice change.
And there's not a lot of thinking about it. There's not a lot of sibling rivalry.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's it's been a lot about family, troubles, but this one was specific to siblings, and even further than that, it was twins as well. So, which is different to what we've been seeing the last few movies, I guess.
Maddie, you were talking before about the kind of the middle of the movie, feeling a bit empty or kind of getting a bit lost with all the action. One of the big moments in the middle of the movie is I guess, where all the children start to parasail down a cliff with the teacher. And that's supposed to be kind of the big heartfelt moment where, I believe in the kids again and we're going to do it. What do you think of that scene, considering the fact that they were parasailing down a cliff with just a rope at that point in time?
I kind of don't think I was paying attention at that point because it was a bit too far-fetched for myself. I don't know. I just felt like the moments that were supposed to be heartfelt didn't hit right.
I mean, maybe that bit, I think I was the same. I was like, this is a bit, but maybe it was supposed to be he was put in such a situation where his life was at risk that he had to trust them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's what they were trying to do maybe, but I think it was a bit extreme what they...
It felt like a jump the shark moment where it was okay, we're here now. We're at this point in the movie.
Also, that cliff was massive. It wasn't a little cliff. It was like a mountain.
Yeah, no, of course.
You would get sued through the arse if you're a teacher doing that in real life.
To be honest, he should have been fired, and same with Martin Freeman too. All of the time they get taken out of school and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of
I blame Mr. Poppy for that. But even when they were whitewater rafting and David Tennant fell in, all I could think of was now he's susceptible to COVID.
What are you doing?
Well, you didn't do a very good job the past few nights, so I had to step in.
I had one planned.
I don't care.
I've written it out.
Cop that.
Maddie, you're off the podcast.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Right.
Try,
I guess
slip it in,
I'm
though.
not doing a COVID joke tonight.
No, try slip it in.
I'll see. Yeah, we'll see how we go. Speaking of, I guess you were talking about the teachers being sued. I guess the person in charge of that was the principal, Pam Ferris. She makes a return. What do we think of Pam Ferris's role in this movie? I personally thought she was just as good as the first movie.
Yeah, she was funny.
I didn't realise she's actually Mrs. Trunchbull in the Matilda movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, okay, this is seeing two different sides of the actress, but... Yeah. No, she's great in the movie.
I really enjoyed the scene where she was yelling at the twin behind the scenes. I thought that was quite funny. And then she kind of gets dragged away. That was quite good. Did everyone have many laugh out loud moments? I remember watching the first one and I was audibly laughing for quite a lot of the jokes. What do we feel about this one?
There's a joke at the end in the credits. I couldn't stop laughing where one of the girls... I can't remember what the joke was because I watched it hours ago. But there's a joke where they're trying to tell jokes for the audition. You know how they have the blooper reel at the end? And it was before the kid makes a really crappy, cow across the street joke. And I can't remember what it was, but it was just really, really, really funny. And I'm like, if Josh doesn't take this and use it in the podcast, I'm going to be very upset.
Josh didn't.
But yeah, I think one of my favorite bits, to be honest, was when they go from bus to boat, where they're all screaming and then they just get into the lake and it's like, hey, look, it's a bus boat.
Yeah, true.
I was like, what is this?
Love it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was.
What about you girls? Was there anything in the movie that made you laugh out loud as much as the first one?
I think they crammed a lot of the first movie jokes in the second, like the auditions. They were so funny in the first movie because you weren't expecting it. You weren't but in the second movie, they did the auditions for quite a while. Like, so I guess that was like a cheap laughs sort of gag that they put in there, I guess, which felt inauthentic to me. Like, I didn't feel
That's fair.
like I
That's a
wanted
fair
to
point.
laugh at genuinely.
Amy, your favourite little boy Bobby was back in this movie.
Just Bob. Bob.
Was it just Bob? Sorry, just Bob.
Just Bob.
What did you think of his performance in this movie?
Well, I feel like you could definitely tell that all the kids that were in the original one had grown up. Like,
Yeah.
you could tell that they weren't, like, little kids anymore. Like, I mean, I feel like Bob still had some part of him that was in the first one, but you could tell he'd matured a lot.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
felt, yeah.
One of the girls sang a song and it had the words Tiny Timmy in it, and I gasped really loudly.
There's also in the audition, one of the girls sings the song from the first movie, and he immediately
Yes,
gets the
that was
buzzer.
funny
I was
too.
like, that's
That
funny.
was-
That was good.
There was also the Justin Bieber moment right at the end of the movie where they're doing all of the songs, and there's the guy who's acting like Bieber. And I was thinking, if anyone who didn't grow up during that time saw this, they wouldn't understand. Because it was made, I think, in like 2011 or something, so it would have been the height of the Biebs' popularity.
I think the end was probably my favourite part of the movie, like just watching all the little kids like doing their dance. And I liked how like it wasn't like, oh, you have to be perfect. It was almost like going to a school, like primary school concert, and then just seeing all the little kids performing at the end of the year and all that stuff, like with their little mistakes and not on time and everything. Like it felt really, it was really cute, I reckon.
Speaking
You're
of
getting a bit clucky there, Amy, aren't you?
Well, speaking of Clucky in the end of the movie, at the end, it almost falls into an actual nativity scene as they end up in a barn and they give birth to twin
Danger
boys.
in the manger, am I right?
There,
Pete?
well, hey, given the fact that the primary school kids were watching the birth,
That was weird.
and some of the reaction shots, and the fact that there was also like live animals in the manger.
Well,
Yeah,
they
the
watched
donkey.
a live birth in the first one. I don't know why they
Yeah,
were
they-
shocked. They'd already
Oh yeah,
seen
they
it.
did. You're
They
right.
did.
But that
they
was
did.
an animal, wasn't it?
No,
they
it
saw a
was, they
human.
went to a hospital.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh,
That's all right. Mr. Poppy
Mr.
was
Poppy
like,
took them to a hospital.
oh yeah, no, now I remember. Because they went to the farm animals one first, and then they went
to the hospital
Yeah.
to watch a baby. Yeah, right.
That poor donkey. I feel sorry for that donkey and all of the experiences that
It's
he
a
probably went
magical
through.
flying donkey.
Donkey.
Oh man, magical flying donkey. It was. There was a lot of small moments in this movie that was a bit too unrealistic. Like the donkey saying "Merry Christmas" at the end. Them talking about flying donkeys.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, the donkey was like "Merry Christmas" right at
That's
the
because
end.
Yeah.
David Tennant was like a magical talking donkey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are a few things I was like, maybe it's too far, but I mean, it was definitely a sequel to Nativity. Like it wasn't like super disjointed. It's kind of had the same themes. It felt Christmassy. I thought. Do you guys think it felt Christmassy?
Yeah.
You told me you didn't think it felt Christmassy, Josh.
Well, I've had time to reflect on this because at the time when I finished watching it, I was like, I don't know how Christmassy that was, but it's the very end of the movie that redeems it.
That's where it like comes through, I feel like.
Because they jam it all at once. It's like the kids winning the pageant. It's the baby's being born in a manger. It's the family being reunited. It's the big happily ever after. It's the Christmas miracle right at the end. So I feel like that.
I felt like the end of the movie was like where they had made when they were thinking of the sequel, that's what they were gonna do, and then Martin Freeman couldn't get on, so they had to try and find someone else that was just as good to fill in. Because like around that time, like Martin Freeman was doing the Lord of the Rings movies, so he definitely wouldn't have been able. It'd be interesting to see if he actually would have wanted to go and do the second one.
Well, they had the element of the twin brothers, so I don't know if that...
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. I was thinking like, and also they kind of set it up though, because he met he got his wife or whatever back in the first movie, and she lives in Hollywood.
Yeah, true.
So it would make sense that he would follow, because that's what I was going to say before. Like, I feel like the carry-on of the two movies were quite good. Like, it worked out fine. It wasn't like it wasn't like you were sitting there being like, how did we end up here? Like, it...
I liked Mr. Shakespeare in this movie a little bit more than I did in the last movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think seeing him out of his element, where he thinks he's the best, and then seeing David Tennant's brother, I think was really kind of, like, human of him, which was really interesting, because normally he's just been cocky. But, and that, the quote that he made to the end when they're all stuck in the globe is like, oh, look, it's the Shakespearean globe. And then they push it out. I'm like, that's a good joke. Because I play on his last name.
If we were characters in this movie, who would we be?
I have no idea.
I was Martin Freeman last time, so...
This one's tricky.
I think Josh... There was a moment where Gordon Shakespeare was, like, dancing, and, like, I just was like, that's Josh. It's so musical theatre, he said, and I was like, yeah, that's Josh.
I'll take it.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
Amy, you would be David Tennant's wife.
Yeah. I think I might have been David Tennant, to be honest. Like trying to do the good thing by everyone, want everybody to be happy. Maybe but I'm a little disappointed by, like, my family sometimes. But then at the end, it's all right.
Yeah. Maddie, I think you would be either Pam Ferris's character.
Yes, I mean, or the donkey.
Well, I was going to say, or the baby.
I was about to say the donkey.
I was going to say the baby, but yeah.
I do cry a lot, you're right.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You sound just like it. So it was... Maddie, I'm going to handball to you.
Oh my God, guys, how many Christmas hats are we going to give this movie out of 10? I think I'll start with Josh tonight.
I am going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10.
Now, sum that movie up with 7.5 words.
No.
All right, okay.
And you can't say any more than 7.5 words.
Okay. How do I do 0.5 of a word?
Make it a short word.
It was funny. Doesn't beat Nativity 1.
Oh, that was pretty good, actually. And that's all you have to say about it. Good job, Josh. Okay. Luke Evans. How many Christmas hats would you give this out of 10?
I'm going to go with a 7. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of 7 words.
This is thrilling for podcast listeners.
Okay, wait.
It was...
Go, Luke.
It was good. First one was better.
Amy, how many
I
stars
think
out
I'm
of 10?
going to do 7 as well.
Yep.
And mine is, it was Christmassy, but too much craziness.
Oh, that's
I
good.
like it.
Maddie, what about you?
That should be on the poster.
I was going to say, that's like really good use of English. That was good work.
Very good. I'm also going to give it a 7. I'm going to say David Tennant is daddy, but Martin Freeman.
Is it so with David Tennant? Is it just me, or was it really weird seeing his brother and then thinking you also play a character in Jessica Jones where you're really creepy, and it's kind of weird that you can play in a kids movie and also be borderline a
Okay, but
sexual
I
predator?
thought when he was
Weird.
in Jessica Jones and as the twin brother, I thought he was hotter. I don't know what that means.
You're just like a bad
Also,
boy,
it's a play on words because he literally became a daddy. So,
Oh, well done. Well
yes.
done.
How about Luke? You've got your question segment.
Yes, I have my Christmas question of the day. We were talking about the donkey earlier. this one is going to be a little bit out of left field. If a new animal could be added to the Christmas canon, what would it be and why? So, what you think of as a normal Christmas animal, what animal would you want to add to that to Christmas? And why do you think it would be a good pick?
Blue whale.
And why is that?
Because it's the only thing big enough to fit all my Christmas spirit in it.
Oh, beautiful. So wholesome. That was surprisingly wholesome. I'm going to go with a magpie because they usually hang around you while you're eating Christmas lunch outside in Australia, begging for something.
They're also really into presents and shiny things.
Yes, they do like shiny things.
I'm going to go with a kangaroo because I feel like Rudolph and his red nose and his reindeers should be kangaroos.
I like that. That's very Aussie Santa
6
wear
white
shorts
boomers.
tonight kind of Santa.
What about you, Luke?
We've seen a lot of people making stuff for Christmas. I think I'm going to go with a Canadian beaver because they make their own houses and then you can have the family at home. They're good, hard
that's
workers.
sweet.
That's nice. That's
I'll
good.
be home for Christmas, but it's beavers.
Justice Beaver.
That would have made the movie so much better. Just having beavers, him in a Santa outfit. Oh, that would be the best.
Or him in a beaver outfit.
And he's going to Canada.
Yeah, he's
Who
got to get
is
home to
Justice
the dam.
Beaver? Josh, did you write a joke specifically for tonight?
I did actually write a joke. All right, so once again, this is trash. Writing jokes is way harder than just finding them on Google. But I gave it a crack, and it's a play on words this time. See if you spot it. All right? Okay. So the other day, I realised I have incredible powers. I have this one amazing skill, right? So whenever somebody gives me a present, I know exactly what's inside the present that they're going to give me, right? So if you give me a box, bam, I know it's a teddy bear inside. You want me to go look in the shed? I already know there's a bike in there. Like I'm telling you, whenever somebody gives me something, I already know what is inside. I guess you could say it's a gift.
I thought you were going to end that with, it's chlamydia.
Oh my God.
I thought it was going to be an anti-joke.
Oh my God. No, oh my God, no.
This podcast is now age-gated viewers.
That took an odd turn. Amy, save us with a fun fact, please.
Why?
Because the last thing we talked about was chlamydia.
Okay, so
Better than COVID.
the fun fact of the day, the Christmas fun fact of the day, is that did you know that many parts of the Christmas tree, so a real one, of course, can actually be eaten. Please don't
What?
please don't go and eat plastic trees, okay?
What? Or a real
and
tree. Don't
apparently
do that either.
The needles can provide a good source of vitamin C, apparently.
You also said vitamins the British way too.
Oh, wait. I read about this. These monks that would eat, like, pine sap and pine needles to, like, preserve their insides. So, like, when they died, they would, like, become mummified from the inside.
Right.
I mean, that's not Christmassy, but, it's got to do with pine needles and pine sap. That's weird, man.
That is odd.
Sorry for that fun fact on top of the other one. I think yours was a bit more fun than mine.
Yeah, that's pine needles.
When we eating Christmas tree, guys, I think we got to try some.
Is your Christmas tree
No, mine's
real,
plastic.
though?
But I'll buy
so
a
I'm not
real
eating
one
that.
and I'll saute it up with some, like, gnocchi or something.
And we'll charcoal.
Yeah,
Instead of
could eat it
burnt
on our
butter and
Christmas
sage,
day.
Slow
burnt
cooked.
butter and
Would
pine.
that be cannibalism if we're using charcoal to then charcoal this particular tree?
Using tree to cook tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and look, if you want to eat a tree, you can also get in touch with us at our mailbag. Now, speaking of, tonight I've done something a little bit different for the mailbag.
Oh, here we go.
a few podcasts ago, I mentioned that I would reach out to a certain somebody on Instagram. And I would just like to share with you all the message that I sent to them today.
Did he reply?
Well,
Amy,
we've still got,
let's be real. He's never going to reply.
we've still got 13 days, so I think we're going to start a countdown clock for
If
the
he
rest of the season.
replies,
Okay.
I will eat part of a Christmas tree.
Done. That's a deal.
I'll eat a
We'll
part-
That is
all
a
eat part of
deal.
a Christmas tree.
Okay,
Okay. So, all right, I'm going to read out what we said.
I think you need to send him another message.
I know. I have
Josh.
to say that there's, that
There's steaks.
my girlfriend is going to eat a tree if you reply to me. But for those of you who are listening and you're not aware, I spoke the other day of one Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We had a discussion and we all thought that if John Cena can be in a Christmas movie, why can't The Rock? So I've sent Mr. Johnson a message this evening, and I just thought I'd read it out. Hi, Mr. Rock. I hope you're well. We here at Christmas and Chill love everything you do. We review Christmas movies, and we think you should definitely shoot a Christmas film at some stage of your career. If John Cena can do it, surely you can. I mean, we have no authority, power, pull, or budget to assist you with this in any way, shape, or form, but we still think you're great. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Love, Christmas and Chill. P.S. We're about to watch Santa with Muscles featuring the Hulkster. Give us strength.
I will say, talking about, I didn't realize that Arnold Schwarzenegger was also in a Christmas movie.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Jingle All the Way.
Oh, it's going to be great.
And he fights Christmas men.
Turbo
he
Man.
fights Santas.
It's the best movie. They play
Turbo
it every
Man.
year.
I can't
Turbo
wait.
Man!
I cannot wait. But look, if you would
Are
like
we
to...
watching that? It's on the list.
It is on
Yeah.
the list. It is on the
Oh
list.
my god, I didn't realize.
It's not far off. But look, if you would like to get in touch with us, maybe you would like to also send Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a message and tell him all about our fantastic podcast. Please do get in touch. That's a couple of ways you can do it. mailbag.chrismasandchill@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Christmas and Chill Podcast. If you're listening to us on Apple Reviews, if you've left us a review, thank you so much. We now are starting to get a couple of 5-star reviews cycle through on Apple Podcasts. A couple of fantastic comments up there. So please, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, tell us what you think. Leave us some love. We really appreciate it. Guys, what are we watching tomorrow night?
Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, geez.
The 1947 version.
It's going to be good. I mean, it's going to be
Wait,
interesting.
47? I thought we said it was going to be the 90s one.
Nope, I asked you and you said 47.
I think the original list was 47.
Yeah, and then I asked to change it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
When?
It was on one of the... It was like at least a couple of nights ago. I think it was like when we were doing...
Mate, the list is final.
Right? Guess we're reviewing
All right,
the
well, what's the-
1947 version.
I guess we can change it. It doesn't matter.
It does...
Here,
no,
you know
if
what? This
if
is
the
what we'll
list
do.
is the same.
This is what we'll do. I'm going to pull a poll up on Facebook between the two. And whichever one gets the most love by... I'm going to put it up now. And whichever one gets the most love by tomorrow evening is the one that we're going to watch.
All right, sounds good.
All right?
Okay, cool.
The power's in your hand, listeners. But, I mean, to be fair, by the time you listen to this, that poll will have already finished. But still, good work if you did vote. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody wins the Kia Rio tonight because everyone's a winner.
Boo!
That's even worse! I don't want to be with everyone else.
You all get $20 JBL vouchers. That's JBL handheld video cameras. This is Australia's funniest home videos, 1997.
Oofed.
Thanks so much for listening. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.